All right, we are live with another episode of Justin and Donald Save America. So, Davos 2023 just wrapped, and there was a couple of stories that were kind of going around. John Kerry comparing himself to extraterrestrials. We talked about the Bank of America CEO basically just laying out exactly what ESG is in terms of the Great Reset. And you also probably saw a clip of Al Gore kind of going crazy. But there's a little bit more to this Al Gore clip than than you saw in the headline. So we're going to talk about that on this episode of Justin and Donald Save America. But before we do, I do have to put that message out there to everyone that's tuning into this little episode, and that is that you can help us out by just doing a couple of simple things: hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already, hitting the share button, hitting the like button, even leaving a comment underneath this video. All help break through those big tech algorithms that prevent content like this from being shown to more people. I'm Donald Kendal. I've got Justin Haskins. Justin, what's going on?
I'm just buried in Davos stuff. It's all Davos
Yes.
all the time. It's
Right.
all we're doing. I think somebody told me on the team, maybe it was Jack McFerrin, or maybe it was Chris Talgo, both part of our Socialism Research Center at the over at the Heartland Institute. One of them told me that there were like 200 presentations recorded at Davos.
Sure.
And so
Sure seemed like
sifting,
it.
yeah, I know. And sifting through these things is just, it is a lot of work, but we're doing it so you don't have to watch.
That's right.
That's the plan. Yeah, you're welcome, America.
So here's the clip that you've probably seen. This is Al Gore going crazy, doing his best, Chicken Little impression. Sky is falling. There's 600 Hiroshima bombs going off in the ocean, et cetera, et cetera. You've probably seen this, but I'm going to play it just for the fun of it.
62 million tons into it every single day, and the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs, and sucking the moisture out of the land, and creating the droughts, and melting the ice, and raising the sea level, and causing these waves of...
Where was this energy when he was running for president, by the way?
Climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century. Look at the xenophobia and political authoritarian trends that have come from just a few million refugees. What about 1 billion?
Oh my gosh, man.
Yeah. My favorite part is, like, on the one hand, he's warning us about the rain bombs. And then at the other hand, he's talking about how there's no moisture in the ground. And I'm just like, I don't get it. If there's rain bombs, isn't there like moisture everywhere? Isn't that the problem? There's too much moisture. There's rising seas, and there's all these. It's like, where the 1 billion refugees. Can we just talk about that for a second too? Like 1 billion refugees. Isn't there only like 6 billion people on the planet or something like that? 7 billion people? Oh, 8 billion? Okay, so just 1 in 8 are going to be a climate refugee?
Yeah.
Like, this is insane.
All of China is going to be climate refugees soon. But so that was the story. You probably saw it on Twitter, a little segment. Oh, Al Gore's going crazy. He's blowing his stack or whatever. But there's a little bit more context to this. So that was a part of a larger panel that saw a whole bunch of people talking about different alarmist things, and different ways that we should be in touch with Gaia and the nature and all of this stuff. And but one of the presentations, and Justin, you just told me about this, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here. But one of the presentations was from like the president of Colombia, who's sitting right next to Al Gore here. And he, we'll get into his background a little bit. Should we talk about his background right off the front, or should we play his clip? Okay.
Let's play the clip first.
So this is the president of Colombia. At that same presentation, you can see Al Gore sitting next to him when I pull this up.
I think it was right after Al Gore was finished with his rant, actually.
Yeah, if you're watching this, you can see Al Gore's nice gaudy watch right there and off camera. So he's literally sitting right next to this person. But this person, does not have an American background. Like we said, he's from Colombia, and he's a little bit more radical, even more so than Al Gore. So let's listen to this gent talking about how capitalism plays a role in our ongoing climate crisis. Oh, and he's got a narrate. He's speaking in Colombian, so he's got like an interpreter. So
Spanish.
You're hearing.
But yes,
you know what I mean.
Almost the only source of energy to increase profit is carbon oil and gas, coal, oil and gas. And this has resulted in a change in our atmosphere. We have to put an end to this if we wish to live in our planet. Can our capitalism do this?
Can our capitalism do this,
Based
Justin?
on the
Let's see.
current data, we won't be able to do so.
Can't do it.
Therefore, perhaps we should do the following reflection. If capitalism is unable to do so, either humanity will die with it, or humanity will overcome capitalism so that we can live.
We're either going to die with capitalism, or we can overcome capitalism.
We can overcome it. We can break the shackles of the free market and enslave ourselves with different shackles. That's what we need.
That's right.
Or we're
Is there
all
more to
gonna die.
this? Is there more to this? Should I keep it going, or?
Yeah, keep it going a little bit longer.
In our planet. And let me go to another point. Let's say
Look at this just Avengers squad that's here to save the planet, by the way.
that we have a different type of capitalism, different from what we have nowadays. And I'll call it decarbonized capitalism, let's call it. And this capitalism could overcome the climate crisis. This capitalism should conduct major changes in the way of life and the way of existing and running our politics and economy today.
Okay,
perhaps a great reset of capitalism.
It's funny because on the one hand, it's like, first he says, it's such a roller coaster ride. First he's like, we could all die with capitalism, or we could overcome capitalism. Then he says, actually, we don't need to get rid of capitalism. We could just have what he calls a decarbonized capitalism. And then you think, okay, that's just like when I open a can of soda and leave it out for a while, and then all the carbon all escapes, right? Like that's what that means. That's not that bad.
Well, to be fair, that soda tastes just as good after all the carbonation.
Yeah, of course it does. So I thought, okay, decarbonize. That could be worse. It could be worse. But then he says, well, in decarbonized capitalism, we're just going to throw out everything we've ever done. We're going to change our political systems. We're going to change our way of life. We're going to change our entire economies. And now I'm back to, well, that seems like a little bit more than just decarbonized version of what we have right now.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, I think what's really important about this is, and the reason why I tried to convince you into doing this video was it's like the Al Gore thing is crazy, but it's not actually the craziest thing on the panel.
Right.
And I think that the fact that they even had this guy up on the stage tells you a lot about what Davos is and who the people running it are and who Al Gore is and all of this other stuff, because this guy, although he's a politician and he's a president, he's actually president of Colombia, right? So he's a major political figure, new president of Colombia. He's not your run-of-the-mill, just upstanding, normal politician. So let's talk a little bit about who he is and kind of reveal what's going on here. And that helps to put the things that he just said into context. Because if you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, maybe he's just like, he likes capitalism, but it's just the decarbonized and he's saying some crazy things, but he's not really a crazy guy. Just like, he's just being taken out of context or something. I assure you he's not. And this will prove it right here. So Gustavo Petro is his name. He actually has a much longer name, but they shorten it to that. This article is about him. It's an opinion article on The Hill. This was before he actually became president. But if you see here the description of him, which has been verified by a bunch of other sources on both the left and the right, Gustavo Francisco Petro Urrego is a former Marxist guerrilla, not gorilla like the animal.
Of course.
Gorilla like the crazy socialist fighters, and former member of the Movimiento 19 de Abril, which is my broken Spanish way of saying M19, a group that committed terrible violent acts against innocent civilians. Petro, a Hugh Chavez admirer, that's Hugo Chavez, has run on an anti-corruption, anti-corporatism, and pro-peace platform. I guess other than the violent acts against the innocent civilians before that the one sentence earlier, but whatever. He believes that there is room for, quote, a revolution, unquote. Petro labels himself as a Castro Chavismo, which is my favorite kind of South American politician, progressive leftist. Like Lula in Brazil, he has run for president several times in 2010, 2018, and now in 2022. He lost all those other ones, but he ended up winning this time, giving Petro high name recognition. Petro was once mayor of Bogota, but was removed for mismanagement. So this is a fellow.
You know what? That's someone I want on my panel talking about saving the world. That's who I want up there, sitting right next to Al Gore, talking about how to save the planet from terrible capitalism side effects.
And that is what makes me like. So we have gotten a lot of flack from certain corners of the country and, you know, of Western civilization who are unhappy with the fact that we're so critical of Davos, and you know, numerous occasions things that we've done have been labeled conspiracy theories and whatever. And our work with Glenn Beck especially has been, you know, under a microscope, big gigantic publications, you know, famous, you know, media outlets and stuff, basically suggesting that we're making all this up or that this is somehow a radical conspiracy or whatever. But we've proven over and over and over again that that's not the case. But this is just like so in your face. Like the idea that you would have this guy at anything resembling a normal gathering of people is, in policy world, is completely insane. Obviously, if we're trying to be a credible organization, run a credible conference, you would not bring a former Marxist guerrilla fighter who was part of an organization that commits, quote, terrible acts against innocent civilians. You wouldn't have that guy on the stage. And you wouldn't have this crazy lady with the hat on the stage either. We didn't even get a chance to talk about her. She's like, I don't know what her background is exactly, but all I know is that she basically thinks that we should all go. She suggested that we should learn a lot from the Native Americans and their way of approaching the earth.
We should be one with the Na'vi and you know,
exactly.
all paint ourselves
We should all
blue
live in Avatar world, and that's her, you know. So I mean, so Al Gore is sandwiched in between these two lunatics, and he's talking about he has to outdo them, right? Because he doesn't have a funny hat, and he's not he's not a former Marxist guerrilla fighter as much as he would want to be. So what has he got? So that's why he goes on this crazy rant about 600 Hiroshima bombs and the oceans and seas boiling and 1 billion climate refugees, because he's got to compete somehow with this band of losers that's around him. I mean, this is just the most incredible gathering of people. And the funny thing is, this is one panel out of like 200 panels. So, I mean, it's just chock full of just pure insanity. And this is another example of it. And this was one of those things that the media actually did latch on to part of this and then just ignored all the crazy around it because of how crazy Al Gore was. But the people around him are even crazier. So that was why I wanted to point. It's a great illustration of this. If you actually want to see the kind of people that are on Davos and what's really in the heart and soul of what Davos is, you can't just look at the clips. You got to look at the stuff around the clips too. And this is a great example of that.
Yeah, there was, man, I should have had this ready for this conversation, but there was an article written. I was trying to pull it up while you were just talking. I think it was Michael Schellenberger. And in the article, he wrote that he predicts that based on like the trend lines and the amount of negative attention, thanks in part to us and the work that we're doing with Glenn Beck, negative attention associated with Davos and World Economic Forum, that soon, in the next couple of years, it's going to be like a liability for these different politicians and these world leaders, like a public like persona liability to be associated with these World Economic Forum types. Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he specifically references in the article, He basically celebrates like Davos is on the verge of it's all over for Davos, pretty much. And then in the article, he specifically names Glenn Beck as one of 2 people responsible for Davos basically collapsing into dust.
Right.
And just becoming, this horrible liability for prominent people. And it hasn't yet happened, at least in their minds, but in reality, it has. Like, that's the thing. A lot of people do not take the Davos people seriously anymore. It's just, they're radicals, they're crazies, they're elites that want to control everything. And you can say that we're crazy for saying that, but just look at the clips. Look at the clips. There is speech after speech after speech, presentation after presentation after presentation of people saying the craziest stuff, the most elitist things you've ever heard in your life, year after year after year. People with lots and lots of power all coming together to celebrate themselves. And it isn't made up in our minds. These people really are putting a former Marxist guerrilla fighter on the stage next to Al Gore and some crazy lady and talking about how we need to blow up capitalism. And if we don't, we're all going to die. Like, these are things that they're actually saying at Davos.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just wonder if I wonder, do you want to put a prediction on that? Do you think that will be the case? Do you think that, going to Davos? So, for example, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, right? People speculate that he's got eyes on running for president one day. He's governor of Illinois now, but he's gonna look for national attention or whatever. He went to Davos. And the only reason why he would go to Davos as governor of Illinois is because he wants to raise his international profile so that he could really be thought of as a potential contender for president one day, or he wants to elevate his political career. But do you think, Justin, that because of all this negative attention and, they're running away from the terms of the Great Reset, a coin that they termed, and all of this stuff, all the conspiracy theories, whether or not they're real or just completely made up, is going to taint this organization, the World Economic Forum, so poorly that people like J.B. Pritzker or anyone that's trying to raise their political profile will think twice before traveling to Davos next year? What do you think?
I think no, I don't think so. And the reason why is I do think that it is a stain on their reputation for a lot of people in the public, but most of those people are not going to vote for them anyway. Right. And so most of the people who are watching this video right now would never vote for JB Pritzker if they had the chance. They would never do that. And so I don't think that that's the audience. The socialist left type people that don't like Davos, I don't think they care enough about it to say, oh, you went to Davos, so I'm not voting for you. I don't think they're anywhere near that stage right now. They still would rather have someone like Al Gore than someone like Ron DeSantis, and nothing that they say at Davos is going to change that. And then the other thing is, and this I think is really the most important point, the reason you go to Davos is not to win voters. And it was never to win voters. That was never the point. It's never even to raise your profile with voters. You don't go to Davos for that. Most people don't even pay attention to Davos. The reason you go to Davos is to raise your profile with people at Davos. That's why you go to Davos. So what's going on there? That's where the richest people are. That's where the donors are. That's where the mega donors. That's where the George Soroses of the world are. That's where the big banks and big corporations and big establishment types internationally on the left, that's where they are. And so you go there for that reason. You don't go there for the public. So I agree that they'll lose credibility with certain people in the public, but the juice is worth the squeeze. It is whatever the effort is, whatever the punishment is, whatever the pain is that comes with going to Davos, it's worth getting these people on your side, because if you want to run for office and be a player in the Democratic Party, you got to have those kinds of people on your side now. That's where the money's coming from. And that's where the power and the institutional power is coming from. And we didn't even talk about the media and people in media that go to Davos, and all of the social media people who are in Davos. It's like all the big institutions, they're all there, the activists. Right. So, I mean, no, I don't think so. I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, unfortunately. I think that the World Economic Forum would pivot before they become
Agreed.
irrelevant, and
Yes.
maybe try to like launder their image a little bit more and become a little bit less having speeches about the apocalypse and being extraterrestrials and all of that, and start focusing more on a little more mundane things, flying under the radar for a few years or anything like that. But it definitely shows that we're at least having an impact in regards to just like the national lexicon when it comes to this, where World Economic Forum and all of that become terms that people are aware of. The World Economic Forum, even with Davos and all of that, was not a term that people like knew about, even on the right side of the aisle, just a handful of years ago. So the idea that we're kind of like blowing them up on the scene is like, I think we're doing some good there, but Justin, any other things you want to say? Anything you want to get off your chest before we wrap it up for today?
No, nothing else.
Okay.
Maybe we could look into that hat.
Yeah, I'm
Is there
gonna
some
get
way
you
we can
that.
get the hat?
I'm gonna get you that. Maybe for your birthday. I know that's still a ways away. Christmas is even longer than that. So I'll come up with a holiday, and I'll get you that hat, and maybe you can be
I
invited
would.
to the
I
World
mean, I could
Economic.
wear it. If you give me the hat, I'll wear it. We'll do an episode with me in the hat.
Okay, fantastic. All right, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Like I said, you could really help us out by hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you like this content, make sure to share it. Subscribe, leave a comment under the video. All of these things break through that big tech algorithm that prevents content like this from being shown to more people. So thank you in advance for doing those things, and we'll make sure to catch you next time.